Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to Clues by Sam. We have a tricky one. It's been a while since we played the tricky one, and it's a Wednesday, so perfect time for a tricky one right in the middle of the week and right in the middle of difficulty. So, if you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it is a daily logic puzzle game where there are 20 people on a board, each of which must either be a criminal or an innocent, and they might give you clues. You have to figure what each person is. And there's always a first person to give you the first clue and get you started. We do this every day here on the channel, so you're welcome to play along with me. There is a link in the description if you want to do so, and I'm going to start mine and explain my logic as I go so you can follow along, or if you get stuck, maybe I could help you. I have an announcement about my thumb, an update. I apparently tore a ligament, so I'm still going to doctors and doing tests to see what we do next, but I'm gonna have some more recovery time ahead of me. But I'm doing better now with this than I was with the other thing, the makeshift what's immobilizer, I don't know how you guys call it, but anyway, I'm gonna start the puzzle now and we see how we go. Okay, so we start with Nick telling us that both criminals below Evie are connected. Okay, so Nick himself is below Evie, and above him there's Igor, who is not connected to anybody else who is below Evie except for Nick, who is an innocent. So Igor couldn't be a criminal, otherwise he would be separated from any other criminals that are below Eve, which makes him an innocent. And that makes, since there's both in the clue, that also means that there's two criminals, and that makes Tina and Zena both criminals below Evie. Now we don't need Nick's clue anymore. Now we have Tina's clue telling us that Susan is one of Nick's 6 innocent neighbors. So Susan is an innocent, and Nick has 8 neighbors total. Since 6 of them are innocent, that makes Nick have 2 criminal neighbors. One of those is Tina. We know about that already, but we don't know about anybody else. Now, Igor says that all innocents in column B are connected. Okay, and Susan is an innocent in column B. And she's saying that Alice has at least 2 innocent neighbors. So Alice is up here, and she has 3 neighbors total. Let's say that Alice shares Henry as a criminal neighbor with Nick. That's Nick's second criminal neighbor and the last one, right? That will make Mary an innocent, and since Alice has to have 2 innocent neighbors, at least both Gus and Chuck will be innocents, and now we have Chuck and Mary who are both in column B being innocents and being separated, which can't happen according to Igor. So Henry couldn't be a criminal. We don't know about the others though. Oh, we know about Mary actually, because Mary is also in column B, and if she were to be a criminal, then exact same thing will be happening with Henry and Susan. They will be separated as innocents in column B, so Mary has to be an innocent as well. And now we don't know about Gus and Chuck, so let's leave that there. We don't need Igor's clue anymore though. Henry now says that exactly 2 of the 3 criminals on the edges are Tina's neighbors. Okay, so there's 3 criminals on the edges total on the whole board. And 2 of them are Tina's neighbor. Here's Tina. Tina shares 2 people with Nick. So it may be that one of these guys is a criminal. And the last one for Nick. And also the last one for Tina. But we don't know yet. What does Mary say? There's an odd number of innocents below Frank. So Frank has 4 people below him. If an odd number of those are innocent, and we know that Nick needs a second criminal to total his 2, and the last one is gonna be below Frank, let's say that that person is Jason. If it is Jason, that will make the other 2 people who neighbor Nick and are below Frank innocents, right? And now that's an even number of innocents below Frank, so we need the 3rd person to be an innocent as well, and that's Zara. And it doesn't matter who is a criminal here, below Frank to neighbor Nick. There has to be a criminal, and the other 2 are gonna for sure be innocents. So Zara is always an innocent to total 3 and make an odd number for Frank. right? That's good. And now, we know that Zara says there are exactly 4 instances in column D. So since we just checked that there are going to be 3 instances below Frank, Frank himself has to be one of those to total 4. We don't need Zara's clue anymore now. Frank now says there are exactly 2 instances below Jason. So Jason is below him, and there's already an instant below him, which means that the second one is either going to be Uma or Paul. They are opposites, and that's the single criminal the neighbor's Nick. That makes Jason an instant as well, right? Because we know that there's 2 instances up here. And now we know that Nick and Tina share their second and last criminal neighbor. So that makes Wanda, which is the other neighbor for Tina, an innocent because she only has 2 criminal neighboring her. And now Wanda says there are more instances in column B than column D. We know the total for column D, right? That's 4. So if there are more than that in column B, that means that everybody in column B is an instant. That's the only way for there to be more. We don't need Wanda's clue now anymore. Chuck says that only one column has exactly 5 instances, and that's column B. How does that help me? I don't know about any other columns. Column C is not at risk of having 5 instances. Alice already has her 2 instant neighbors that she needs at least. But Gus could still be an instant as well, so that doesn't solve itself. Oh, but we know that there's 3 criminals total on the edges. And let's say that Evie is a criminal. Now column A would have 5 innocents total. And that will break Chuck's clue. So Evie couldn't be a criminal. And we know that there's 1 criminal in column A on the edge. Now Evie says that there's an odd number of criminals below Alice, which means that she herself is not a criminal because there's only 1 criminal in that column, so she's an instant. And now Alice says that an odd number of instances on the edges neighbor Susan, so where's Susan? Well, Susan has 1 instant on the edge already, that's Zena, and she could at most have a second one with the other people that neighbor her on the edge because there's only 1 more criminal that could go on the edge, and she having the second one would make an even number. Oh, Alice is talking about innocence. Why do we switch terms? And that number of instances on the edges neighbor Susan. So let's flip that around. Susan has 1 instant neighboring her on the edge and 5 total neighbors on the edges. If everybody else, the neighbor is her and is not a criminal or an innocent, is an innocent, now she has 4 people neighboring her who are innocents on the edges, and that is an even number. So that couldn't happen. That means that she has to have a second criminal neighbor on the edge besides Zena, and that makes Gus an innocent because there's only 1 there's only 1 criminal in column A. Now Gus says, we don't know who's the criminal though here, neighboring Susan. Gus says that Mary and Nick have an equal number of criminal neighbors. So we know that Nick has 2 criminal neighbors, which makes Mary share a second criminal neighbor with Susan. Orange to differentiate. And since Susan has only 1 more criminal neighbor and it's shared with Mary, that makes Vance an innocent. Don't need Gus's clue anymore. Now Vance says that there are exactly 2 instances to the left of Paul. To the left of Paul, there's 2 instances already. And if there are exactly 2 instances, then that means that the third person is a criminal, which makes Ruby an innocent. And now Ruby tells us that there's an equal number of criminals in rows 4 and 5. Row 5 has only 1 criminal, which means that row 4 has only 1 criminal, and it already does. Tina is a criminal, so that makes Uma the last person in that row an innocent, which makes Paul a criminal. And we are done now. That was good. 8 minutes. That's fine for a tricky one. Very nice, very nice. There were several tricky clues. And I don't know if Sam takes into account trickiness of us switching innocents and criminals when reading the clues. But I think they do, because I've seen them mention or ask about it on Blue Sky. So I think it's something that so many people do for some reason. It's kind of interesting, but that was really good. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if it was tricky for you, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.